The rain fell in sheets across the memorial plaza, each droplet seeming to carry the weight of 1,000 memories. Michael stood before the obsidian wall, his weathered hand trembling as it traced the names etched into the cold stone. 17 years had passed since the Battle of Kepler, for 42B, yet the faces of his fallen comrades remained as vivid as ever. Stevens, Martinez, Chun, he whispered, his voice breaking with each name. The cybernetic implant along his left arm, a souvenir from the war, hummed softly in the rain, a constant reminder of what he'd sacrificed, what they'd all sacrificed. The Draxian conflict had ended humanity's isolation in the galaxy, but at a cost measured in blood and ash. Michael had been among the first wave, a young soldier thrust into a war against an enemy that breathed fire and wielded claws like molecular blades. Humanity had won, barely, through sheer stubborn determination and a refusal to yield even when outmatched. But victory felt hollow when you returned home alone. Crying again, Mr. Human? The voice was small, curious, and entirely unexpected. Michael turned to find a Draxian child watching him from beneath a nearby shelter. The boy couldn't have been more than 8 standard years old, his iridescent scales gleaming even in the gray light, tiny horns just beginning to bud from his forehead. Michael hastily wiped his eyes, old soldier instincts making him straighten his posture. "I'm fine, kid. Shouldn't you be with your parents?" The dragon boy tilted his head, crimson eyes studying Michael with an intensity that seemed beyond his years. "Mother is shopping. She says I can wait here where it's dry." He paused, then stepped forward into the rain, completely unbothered by the downpour. "You come here every week. I've seen you. You've been watching me. Mother says humans come here to remember their packmates who flew to the forever sky." The boy's comment was accented but clear, likely learned in one of the integration schools established after the peace accords. "She says grief is sacred, even for," he caught himself, "even for everyone." Michael managed a bitter smile. "She almost said, even for humans, didn't she?" The boy's scales flushed a darker shade, the Draxian equivalent of a blush. "Mother would scold me for my rudeness. I am Torvin, son of Silith." "Michael. Just Michael." He turned back to the wall, hoping the kid would take the hint and leave, but Torvin moved closer instead, standing beside him in the rain. For a long moment, they simply stood in silence, an unlikely pair before a monument to war. "Which one was your favorite?" Torvin asked finally. Michael's jaw tightened. "You shouldn't ask things like that." "Why not? You loved them, didn't you? So one must have made you laugh the most, or felt the safest beside you in battle." "My mother says it's okay to have favorites, as long as you honor them all." Despite himself, Michael found his eyes drawn to one name near the center. "Natalie. Lieutenant Natalie Reeves. She was my commanding officer. And my best friend. Tell me about her." Michael wanted to refuse, to tell this dragon child to leave him to his grief. But something in Torvin's eyes, an earnestness, a genuine curiosity without pity, made him speak instead. "Natalie was the bravest person I ever knew. When the Draxian dreadnought breached our lines at Kepler Station, everyone else was falling back. She stayed, held the command deck alone for 47 minutes while we evacuated civilians." His voice grew thick. "She bought time for 3,000 people to escape. She didn't make it out." Torvin was quiet for a long moment. Then, with a child's blunt honesty, he asked, "Do you cry because you miss her, or because you lived and she didn't?" The question hit Michael like a physical blow. In 17 years, no therapist, no well-meaning friend, no fellow veteran had cut so directly to the heart of his guilt. "Both," he admitted, his voice barely audible above the rain. "Every damn day, both." The dragon boy reached out and took Michael's hand. His scales were warm, almost hot to the touch, and Michael instinctively started to pull away. But Torvin held firm with surprising strength. "You're alone, aren't you? No pack, no clutchmates." Michael nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Torvin's expression brightened suddenly, as if he'd just solved a complex problem. "Then you should borrow my mother. She's very good at being a mother. She makes the best Karish stew in the sector, tells wonderful stories, and gives excellent advice about honor and grief. She even lets me stay up late sometimes when I have nightmares." Despite everything, the rain, the grief, the weight of 17 years, Michael felt a laugh bubble up from somewhere deep inside. It was broken and brief, but genuine. I don't think it works like that, kid. Why not? Humans can't share families. It's complicated. You say that because we were enemies once. It wasn't a question. Torvin's eyes held a wisdom that shouldn't exist in someone so young. But Mother says the war is over. She says humans and Draxians must build bridges, not walls. What better bridge than family? Before Michael could respond, a voice called out across the plaza. Torvin, there you are. A female Draxian approached, her larger frame moving with predatory grace even as concern softened her features. Her scales were a deeper crimson than her son's, and her horns were fully developed, marking her as a mature warrior caste. She had to be Silith. Michael recognized a veteran when he saw one, and something in the way she moved, the old scars visible along her neck, she'd fought in the war. Possibly even at Kepler, their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Two soldiers from opposite sides, meeting in the shadow of their shared dead. Then Silitha's gaze dropped to where her son held the human veteran's hand, and something shifted in her expression. Not anger, but understanding. I see Torvin has made a friend, she said carefully, her comment flawless. Mother, Torvin exclaimed, this is Michael. He's alone and sad. I told him he could borrow you. Silitha's eyes widened fractionally. Then she did something Michael never expected. She laughed, a warm, rumbling sound that seemed to vibrate through the rain itself. Did you now, little spark? And what did Mr. Michael say to this generous offer? Michael found himself speaking without thinking. I said I wasn't sure it worked like that. Silith studied him for a long moment, and Michael had the distinct impression he was being evaluated in ways he couldn't fully comprehend. Finally, she nodded slowly. In Draxian culture, there is a concept, Kirithval. It means family beyond blood. Warriors who fight side by side, who share grief and joy, who honor each other's fallen. She gestured to the memorial wall. I lost my clutch sister at Kepler. You lost your packmate. Perhaps Torvin is wiser than both of us realize. She extended her hand, claws retracted, a gesture of peace. My home is open to you, Michael of the humans. Come, share a meal. Tell us of Natalie Reeves, and I will tell you of Carantha, my sister. Our dead deserve to be remembered by those who understand. Michael stared at the offered hand, his mind reeling. This was a Draxian warrior, possibly someone he'd fought against. Yet here she stood, offering not pity, but understanding. Offering kinship, slowly, his hands still intertwined with young Torvin's. Michael reached out and grasped Silitha's hand. I'd like that, he managed as they walked together through the rain. Human veteran, dragon mother, an enthusiastic child. Michael felt something shift inside him. The weight didn't disappear. The guilt didn't vanish. But for the first time in 17 years, he wasn't carrying it alone. Behind them, the memorial wall stood silent witness, names of the fallen from both species side by side. A reminder of what was lost, and perhaps a promise of what could be built. The war was over. The healing could begin.